Okay, if you're training to run 5K in 20 minutes, you're chasing one of the classic milestones in distance running. It means holding 4 minutes per kilometer or 6 minutes 26 per mile from start to finish. I'm Lee Grantham, a coach and a professional ultra runner who went from running a marathon in 4 hours and 25 minutes to running a marathon in 2 hours and 21 and representing my country at both the marathon and the ultra marathon. If you're at a point with your training when you know you're capable of running way faster times, but you just don't know how to get there and want the guidance from a professional, then get in contact by booking a call in the description. But here's the situation, and here's something you see all the time in the comments. Lee, I can handle the 1 minute and the 2 minute intervals without much trouble. But when I get to 5 minute, 8 minute, 10 minute reps, I fall apart. What's going on? Now, this is actually one of the best clues we can use to unlock that next level for you. And the fix is a lot more straightforward than you think. So let's take a very simple case. 25-minute 5K runner who wants to run 5 minutes faster, 20% faster, and run sub 20, just dip under 20 minutes for 5K. Now, that's already an ambitious goal, right? To take 20% off. Well, it depends on where you've come from and depends on your training background. How we could start this is very simply, okay, I want you to go out and do 20 times 1 minute with 60 seconds rest in between. And all we're gonna do is focus on 4 minutes per kilometer or 6:26 per mile. And you do the 20 times 1 minute with 60 seconds, got tough in the second half, really had to dig in the final quarter, much like a 5K race, but because they're only small intervals of 60 seconds, it's manageable for you. And that first week might be a little bit of a shock, but when you come on to the next week and we do 13 times 90 seconds with 60 seconds rest, so you've got 30 seconds more, 50% more of an interval rep, but you've only got 13 of them. In most cases, because you're already ready and you feel what it's like to be running at 4 minutes per kilometer or 6:26 per mile, you're able to do 13 reps at 50% more. So 50% more than a minute, 90-second reps times 13. And because your enthusiasm is high, because you're super motivated, the next week, you could do something like 10 times 2 minutes with 60 seconds rest in between, all at 4 minutes per kilometer or 6:26 per mile. And you might even do that too. And it makes sense, right? You're going from 1 minute to 1.5 minute to 2 minute reps, and there's less of them. So you're basically breaking up the 5K or breaking up that 20-minute target into gradually bigger pieces or longer reps. Now, what we then typically see is you get onto something like 5 times 4 minutes, and all of a sudden you blow up after 2 or 3 reps. Does that sound familiar? Of course it does, because although you've only got 5 reps of 4 minutes, you've doubled the distance of the interval and you're trying to hold a pace 20% quicker than your 25-minute time. You're trying to hold a pace for 4 minutes to essentially run 5 times a kilometer at your ideal goal, dream, target race pace of 20 minutes for 5K. Of course, that's going to be difficult. And for some of you, you'll be screaming at the screen now, it's almost impossible. And dependent on your start point, that could be true at the moment. So we've got to work to that. And just let's stop for a minute and think about the extreme. If we are starting at a 25 minute, we've gone all out, we've run it as quickly as we possibly can, 25 minutes for 5K, but our goal in our mind is I want to one day run that sub 20 minute 5K. Then think about the extreme. What about if we came to it 20 minutes of volume still, but 2 times 10 minute with just 60 seconds rest in between? What do you think would happen? Maybe you've tried it. Whatever stage you're at in your running journey, in your 5K running journey, that will be a seriously difficult session, if not impossible. Because what we're essentially trying to do is run 2.5 kilometers at 20% faster than our current 5K pace. And so at some point in that first rep, maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, it's a good indicator to where you're at. You'll start to slow down and you'll really feel it. All of a sudden you're in a 60-second rest. It's gone like that and you've got another one to do and it's not within your reach. And it's simply because what it took to get you to 25 minutes is different to what it's going to take you to get to 20 minutes. And we need to work on that. We need to work on your VO2 max and we need to work on your lactate threshold. And so what we're doing with those initial reps, those 1 minute, 90 second, and 2 minute, we're pushing your VO2 max up while simultaneously working at getting you efficient at moving over the ground at that goal dream 5K pace. So if you kept repeating this type of session, you did 1 minute, 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, then 4 minutes, then 5 minutes, all the way up to 10 minutes, eventually it would work out for you. But if you try to hold that 4 minutes per kilometer or 6:26 per mile, then you're going to run into trouble in terms of injury, illness, and you're setting yourself up to fail too many times, and you're only able to try to execute one of those sessions ideally once a week. And to keep this simple, I'm only talking about this midweek interval session. Of course, we want to be building our endurance at the weekend with a long run. We've got to be doing some recovery runs and easy runs, nicely building that time in zone 1 and zone 2, that aerobic base. And think about that as building your engine, which of course you can tap into as you start to want to go quicker. Now, what you could do at this stage is you could run those longer intervals that you're struggling with, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes and onwards. You could run those at 10 or 20% slower than your intended goal pace per 5K. And what that might look like is something like 5 times 3 minutes at 4:24 per kilometer or 7:05 per mile, 60 seconds rest in between. And then you're gonna run 6 times a minute at that goal pace of 4 minutes per kilometer or 6:26 per mile. And what you've then got is a nice mix of you pushing up that threshold to you working towards your goal in a much more methodical way, and some top end stuff where you're working efficiently at moving over the ground and nudging your VO2 max up at the same point, whilst very cleverly working with 20 minutes of volume at a faster pace. So we've really got that working for us once a week, midweek interval session. If we start hitting those consistently week after week without going into a risky zone where the interval session itself feels uncontrollable, and you all know what that feels like. If you've done 10 times 2 minutes and you get to rep 6 and it feels like you're having to really strive for it, it's not where you want to be in an interval session. You want that to be all under your control so that you get to rep 9 and rep 10 and you feel like you could do another 1 or 2 reps. Remember, these interval sessions, we're not trying to ace them. We're not trying to get a 12 out of 10. We're trying to hit them comfortably at an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10 so that you feel like it's all within your control, that you're stretching that elastic band, but you're not stretching it too much so it snaps. You're stretching it enough so that it will stretch further next time. Essentially, that's what training is. You train like that, and then you recover, and then you're able to stretch that elastic band a little bit further. But in order for that to work, you've got to be patient, and you've got to keep the consistency over the weeks and months, and also know when to back off and when today's not the day. I don't feel recovered from the long run, and therefore I'm not ready to go fast. And you have that self-awareness to push that session on and give yourself that extra day's recovery. What you can then do is progress on to 5 times 4 minutes at 10% slower than your ideal 5K pace. So 5 times 4 minutes, 4:24 per kilometer pace or 7:05 per mile. And if that is initially slower and you have to gradually work onto that, fantastic. As long as you are moving forward and you're moving forward safely, you're in a great place. And remember, struggling with longer reps doesn't mean that you're not fast. It just means that your aerobic engine and that efficiency hasn't caught up yet. But if you're already running 1 minute and 2 minute intervals and 90-second intervals at your dream 5K pace, it's a really good indicator that it's just a matter of training and time before you execute on that dream. And if you want more help with your 5K, then I'll put my own personal 5K journey on the screen and also some great interval sessions.